What do you do when life doesn't wait for you to be ready? Every morning, the world is already waiting, full of noise, expectations, and demands. It doesn't pause to see if you're rested or prepared. It just arrives, unapologetically. And if your mind isn't strong enough, those pressures will bend you, break you, and eventually crush you. I've seen it happen time and again. People with talent, skill, and opportunity, yet without mental toughness. The first real setback came and they fell apart. The first rejection and they gave up. The first failure and they never fully recovered. It wasn't that life was harsher to them. It was that their minds weren't ready for the storm. The truth is, life doesn't go easy on anyone. It tests everyone, rich or poor, young or old, educated or not. No one gets a free pass. The difference between those who endure and those who collapse isn't luck or circumstance. It's the condition of their mind. That's why I say, toughen your mind or the world will break it for you. But let's be clear, mental toughness isn't about becoming hard or emotionless. It's not pretending pain doesn't hurt or disappointments don't sting. It's about developing a quiet resilience, the kind that allows you to bend without breaking, to feel the full weight of life without collapsing under it. That kind of strength comes from discipline, perspective, and preparation. I'll never forget something my mentor, Mr. Daniel Matthew, once told me: don't wish it was easier, wish you were stronger. That single line changed everything for me, because life doesn't get easier just because we want it to. Problems don't disappear because we hope they will, but we can change. We can grow stronger, more focused, and more capable of handling what once would have defeated us. When you prepare your mind, you stop being a victim of circumstances. You stop waiting for luck, fairness, or perfect timing. Instead, you walk into life with strength and clarity, ready for whatever comes, not because it's easy, but because you're equipped. And that's the real difference. The people who build extraordinary lives are the ones who learn to face challenges without falling apart. Because life will always be tough, that's guaranteed. The real question is, will you be tough enough to meet it head on? If not yet, that's okay. It just means there's work to do. Every day you delay strengthening your mind, life gets another chance to test it. And trust me, the world never runs out of chances. That's why building mental toughness isn't optional. It's essential. It's about creating habits, discipline, and daily choices that make you unbreakable. Because when rejection, failure, or hardship come your way, and they always do, you'll have two options: crumble or rise stronger because of them. And that kind of strength isn't built by accident. It's built with intention, one choice at a time. Because if you don't build it, life will expose the weakness, and sooner or later, pressure will find its way in. Pressure comes for all of us, not once in a while, but every single day in some form. The moment you step into the world, it starts testing your endurance. Sometimes it's small, a delay, a careless comment, or an unexpected expense. Other times, it's heavy, a betrayal, a setback, a sudden crisis that changes everything. Pressure is honest, it doesn't lie. It shows exactly where you stand, whether your mind is trained or fragile, steady or shaky. I've seen people let the smallest inconvenience ruin their whole day. A long queue, a missed call, a plan gone wrong. Not because life was cruel, but because their minds weren't conditioned to handle resistance. When your mind isn't trained, you react instead of respond. You fold instead of flex. And that's when the world has you right where it wants you, at its mercy. On the other hand, I've seen people move through life's storms with remarkable calm. It wasn't because their lives were easier. In fact, most of them had faced more pain and chaos than anyone around them. But they had something special, a mind that stayed steady under pressure, They didn't deny the storm or pretend it wasn't there. They simply refused to let it control them. They understood something most people never do, that pressure isn't optional. You don't get to choose if life will test you. You only get to choose how prepared you'll be when it does. Here's the truth, life will never become easier. You might earn more money, grow wiser, or develop new skills, but challenges will always rise to meet you. That's how growth works. The only way forward is to keep getting stronger, to build a mind that doesn't just survive difficulty but uses it as fuel. That's the real difference between those who grow and those who crumble. One turns pressure into power, the other gets buried beneath it. And the world, it doesn't wait for you to catch your breath. It doesn't pause so you can get ready. It doesn't ease its weight until you're more comfortable. It simply keeps pressing down like gravity every single day. The real question is, are you prepared? Because if you're not, the weight of life will bend you, break you, even shatter you. But if you've trained your mind, that same weight transforms into something else. Resistance training. The pressure that once crushed you now strengthens you. That's why mental toughness isn't a luxury. It's not something nice to have. It's survival. Without it, life controls you. Every circumstance, every mood, every obstacle dictates how you live. But with it, everything changes. You take back control. You start shaping your days instead of being shaped by them. That's the turning point. That's when pressure stops defining you and you begin defining yourself through it. And it all begins in one place: discipline. Mental toughness isn't born in life's big, dramatic moments. It's built quietly in the ordinary hours no one sees. It's forged each morning when the alarm rings and you rise instead of rolling over. It's strengthened in the small, unseen decisions, the ones that whisper no one will notice, but your mind always does. Discipline is shaped in the quiet moments when you keep your word, even when it's inconvenient. It's strengthened when you refuse to cut corners, even though no one's watching. Each small act of discipline is like laying a brick, and before you know it, you've built a wall strong enough to stand against anything that comes your way. The problem is, most people wait until life hits them hard to start thinking about getting strong. But by then, it's too late. When the storm arrives, you don't magically rise to the occasion. You fall back on your preparation. If you've lived with discipline, your mind already knows how to endure. If you're being careless, the storm exposes you. That's why discipline can't be treated like a bonus or a choice. It's the foundation. You might not notice it when life feels easy, but it always reveals itself when life gets hard. Here's the truth. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment, and that bridge has to be built long before you ever need to cross it. If you wait until pressure comes, you'll find yourself standing at the edge of that river with nothing but excuses. But if you've built discipline into your daily life, you'll cross with confidence when the moment arrives. That's the difference discipline makes. It's in the small things. Skipping the gym doesn't ruin you today, and ignoring that book you promised yourself you'd read won't destroy you tomorrow. But over time, the habit of skipping becomes part of your character. And when real pressure hits, you'll realize just how fragile that lack of discipline has made you. On the other hand, when you honor your commitments, no matter how small, you're training your mind to stay steady. Each promise you keep to yourself is a quiet act of strength. You're building toughness one decision at a time, and before long, when the world tries to push you around, it discovers something. You don't move so easily anymore. Discipline also teaches restraint. Mental toughness isn't just about pushing harder. It's about knowing when not to give in. Life constantly tempts you with laziness, anger, indulgence, distraction. Every time you resist, you grow stronger. It's like lifting a weight. That resistance builds power. The person who learns to discipline their appetite, their temper, their words, that person becomes unshakable. No matter what happens around them, they can govern themselves, and someone who can govern themselves cannot be broken easily. But let's be honest, discipline isn't glamorous. It's rarely exciting. It's not about grand gestures or motivational speeches. It's built quietly, through consistency, waking up when you said you would, following through on what you promised, showing up again and again. That's how real toughness is made. Not in a single heroic act, but in 1,000 small choices that no one else notices. But your mind notices. It keeps score. Every act of discipline adds another layer of strength. Every act of neglect chips it away. And when life eventually applies pressure, as it always does, that score becomes visible. The truth of your preparation is revealed. So if you want a tough mind, start with discipline. Not tomorrow, not someday, today. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you're adding another layer of armor. Every time you resist the easy way out, you're forging another link in your chain of strength. And before long, when life comes to test you, you'll realize something powerful. You don't break anymore. You bend, you adapt, you endure, you stand tall. That's what discipline does. It doesn't just help you survive pressure, it teaches you how to thrive under it. And once you've learned that, you begin to see that pain itself is part of your training. Because pain, for all its sting, is life's greatest teacher. Most people spend their lives running from it, treating pain like an enemy to be avoided at all costs. But here's the truth. Pain isn't your enemy, it's your instructor. It's the one thing that refuses to let you stay the same. Pain says, change this. Pain says, grow here. And if you listen carefully, it can forge the strongest parts of you. Think back to a moment when life hit you hard, when something fell apart, when someone let you down, or when you let yourself down. It could have been a deal that collapsed, a relationship that ended, or a quiet disappointment that kept you awake at night. Whatever it was, that pain gave you two choices. Let it break you or let it build you. Most people sadly choose the first. They sit in the disappointment, replaying it over and over until their pain becomes a prison. But the ones who rise, the ones who refuse to waste their suffering, take that same pain and turn it into fuel. They let it sharpen them instead of shatter them, and that changes everything. I once knew a man who lost almost everything in a single year. His job, his savings, his marriage. It was devastating. But later, he told me it was the best year of his life. Sounds strange, doesn't it? Yet it made perfect sense. That year forced him to face himself. It stripped away the illusions he'd been living under. It made him take responsibility, rebuild his habits, and finally lay a foundation that could stand. Without that pain, he admitted, he never would have changed. In the end, it was his suffering that became the seed of a brand new life. Pain has a way of exposing what discipline hides. You can talk about growth all day. You can dream, plan, visualize, and set goals. But when pain arrives, it demands proof. It looks you in the eye and asks, are you truly committed or just interested? And your answer doesn't come from words. It comes from how you respond. Do you retreat? Do you blame others? Or do you lean in, listen, and ask, what is this trying to teach me? That choice right there between escape and endurance is what separates the broken from the unbreakable. Here's what most people miss. Pain always carries a gift. Hidden inside every struggle is something valuable. A lesson, a strength, a new level of resilience that no book or teacher can give you. Some truths can only be earned through experience. You have to feel the weight of disappointment to understand the worth of persistence. You have to taste failure to truly appreciate success. Without contrast, the lesson doesn't stick. That's why I always say, don't curse the pain, don't waste it. If you're in a hard season right now, don't just try to escape. Ask yourself, what is this shaping in me? Because when you turn your pain into power, it becomes something no one can ever take from you. And the next time life tries to break you, you'll find something incredible. You're not weaker than before. You're stronger, tougher, wiser, because the world isn't neutral. It doesn't sit quietly waiting for you to find your way. It's persuasive, it's demanding, it's relentless. Every single day it pressures you to settle, to conform, to compromise just a little bit more. If you don't toughen your mind, if you don't build strength on the inside, the world will shape you into what it wants instead of who you are meant to become. Think about it. Every ad, every post, every headline is fighting for your attention, telling you what to buy, what to want, what to believe. And if you're not careful, you start living by someone else's script. You chase what they sell, follow what they promote, and slowly lose sight of your own direction. That's why strengthening your mind isn't optional, it's survival. I once spoke with a woman who told me her biggest struggle wasn't her workload or her family, it was the quiet pressure to fit in. She said she'd spent years trying to match everyone else's pace, buying what they bought, chasing what they chased, living the way she thought she was supposed to. It felt easier to go along than to stand out. But over time, she started to feel lost. Every decision she made was shaped by what others might think, not what she truly wanted. Then one day, sitting alone after another long, draining week, she realized something simple but life-changing. Not one of those people she was trying to impress would ever live her life for her. They wouldn't pay her bills. They wouldn't carry her regrets. They wouldn't write her story. That was her job. That's the real danger of the world's pressure. It's quiet. It doesn't always shout or push. It whispers. A suggestion here, a raised eyebrow there, a little nudge to play it safe or go along. And when you give in little by little, one day you wake up wondering why your life doesn't look like the one you dreamed of. You gave the world too much control over how you lived. That's why you have to build the habit of resistance, not against everything, but against the wrong things. Resist the pull toward laziness when discipline is what you need. Resist the temptation of shortcuts when integrity is required. Resist the crowd when the crowd is headed in the wrong direction. That kind of resistance takes courage. It takes a strong mind. And that strength is built in quiet, consistent practice, in the moments where you choose not to follow the noise, but to follow your truth. Look, if you don't set your own sail, you'll drift wherever the wind takes you. And the world, it's full of winds, distraction, temptation, criticism, fear, each one trying to pull you off course, to make you doubt yourself, to make you settle. If you don't have a firm grip on your direction, you'll drift without even realizing it. One day you'll look around and wonder how you ended up so far from where you meant to be. The only way to avoid that is to build a mind strong enough to hold steady, no matter how fiercely the wind blows. Because the real test of mental strength doesn't come when life is calm. Anyone can be composed when things are easy. The true test comes when the pressure rises, when everyone around you says, "Relax, you're taking it too seriously," or "Why work so hard? What's the point?" That's the moment that separates the grounded from the lost. If you can stand there, calm, steady, and unmoved, still living by your principles even when it's unpopular or inconvenient, that's when you know you've built something real inside you. That's the kind of strength the world can't break. When you toughen your mind, something incredible happens. You don't just survive life, you thrive in it. You stop being pushed around by circumstances, tossed by opinions, or broken by setbacks. Instead, you begin to walk taller, not with arrogance, but with quiet, grounded confidence. People notice, they can sense it. There's something unshakable about you, something that doesn't bend so easily when the world applies pressure. And the greatest reward of that strength, freedom. Freedom from fear, because you've learned to face it and keep moving anyway. Freedom from other people's opinions, because your life is built on principles, not popularity. Freedom from endless distractions, because your focus stays anchored on what truly matters. That's what mental toughness does. It gives you back control over your own life. I've met people with incredible talent, people who started strong but couldn't finish, not because they lacked ability, but because they lacked endurance. And I've also met others who weren't the most gifted or the most skilled, but they had something rare, toughness. They showed up, they stayed consistent, they stood firm when it mattered, and in the end they passed everyone else. Because talent might get you started, but toughness is what carries you across the finish line. Think about the workplace for a moment. The people who keep advancing, the ones who rise through the chaos, they're not always the smartest or the loudest in the room. Often, they're the ones who can handle pressure without folding, the ones who can hear no without losing focus, the ones who stay calm and clear-headed when everyone else is panicking. That's mental toughness. And the reward for that kind of steadiness is trust. People trust you with responsibility when they see that you can carry it. They know you won't collapse under pressure or let emotions dictate your decisions. The same principle applies in relationships. A tough mind doesn't explode at every misunderstanding. It doesn't rush to anger or judgment. It listens first, thinks before speaking, and chooses calm over chaos. That's what builds respect. That's what creates stability. When you strengthen your mind, you stop adding noise to the world and start bringing clarity to it. You stop feeding confusion and start creating balance. And the people around you feel that difference. They feel safer, more grounded, more confident simply because you're steady. Another reward of a tough mind is resilience. Life will knock you down, that's guaranteed. The real question isn't if it will happen, but how quickly you can get back up. When your mind is strong, you don't stay down for long. You take the hit, process the pain, learn what you can, and rise again, a little wiser, a little tougher each time. That kind of resilience is priceless because it makes you unstoppable. It means no setback can define you. Every defeat becomes temporary. Every failure becomes part of your story, not the end of it. I often remind people that toughness isn't about how strong you appear when everything's easy. It's about how steady you remain when everything falls apart. That's when your true strength reveals itself, in the moments of pressure, loss, and uncertainty. And when you realize you can still stand, when you discover that you can endure more than you ever thought possible, something shifts inside you. You begin to see yourself differently. You understand that you are and always have been stronger than you imagined. And that belief, the knowledge that you can endure, stays with you. It becomes part of who you are. So, what does it all come down to? Life isn't sitting back, waiting to see how tough you are. It's testing you every single day. Some days the tests are small, other days they shake you to your core. The question is, are you building a mind strong enough to stand up to it, or are you hoping the world will go easy on you, because it won't? Mental toughness isn't something you're born with, it's a choice. You build it every time you resist the easy way, every time you steady your thoughts instead of spiraling, every time you hold your ground when pressure hits. Each of those moments is training. You're either building strength to carry life's weight, or you're letting that weight crush you. There's no middle ground. And here's the truth. Toughening your mind doesn't just protect you, it expands you. It makes you capable of more, of leading, of enduring, of carrying responsibility when others can't. It gives you the courage to walk into uncertainty without trembling. That's the kind of strength people notice, the kind they trust, the kind that earns respect and opens doors. Because the world is full of distractions, temptations, and pressures designed to break you down piece by piece. If you don't prepare your mind, you'll find yourself giving in slowly, wondering one day where your strength went. But if you build the habit of toughness, If you train your mind to stand firm, then when the world starts to shake, you won't. You'll stay steady while everyone else falls apart. And when that day comes, you'll be grateful you did the work. You'll be grateful you didn't wait. Mr. Shai used to tell me, life doesn't get easier, you just get stronger. And he was right. The challenges don't disappear, but your ability to face them grows. Your resilience grows. And eventually, the very things that once intimidated you will barely move you. That's the real payoff of a tough mind. It doesn't just help you survive life, it transforms the way you face it. So here's the challenge I'll leave you with today. Don't wait, start building your toughness now. Every single day, test yourself. Say no to the easy path and yes to the disciplined one. Remind yourself that the world doesn't control your response, you do. Build that habit, strengthen that muscle, toughen your mind, because if you don't, the world will break it. But if you do, nothing in the world can. That's the difference between living life on your own terms and letting life push you around. Choose wisely. If this message inspired you, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Someone out there might need this reminder today just as much as you did.